Alright. I was gonna move the microphone so that way you guys can actually hear me properly. And the good thing is you won't actually have to hear the game through the microphone anymore. Because there's no delay at this capture card whatsoever. You guys ready for some memes? Thought for a second sign just broke, but then I remembered it's my vape. Alright. Create a game file on this planet, yes. Do I want to be Mario, Yoshi, Toad, or Peach?
What?
Obviously that means Toad. No, for the icon.
Oh. What the fuck?
At least that's what I'm assuming. Oh, it puts a gigantic toad head. Nice. This is a Todd for a second. Play this file. Every 100 years, a comet appears in the skies above the Mushroom Kingdom. The comet was so large one year it filled the skies and sent countless shooting stars raining down. The toads brought the shooting stars to the castle where they became a great power star. Alcoholic man tells a story. It should have been a very happy time for the citizens of the Mushroom Kingdom. Okay, just toads. That was the night of the Star Festival, held once every 100 years to celebrate the comet. How old are the characters in Mario?
I'll be waiting for you at the castle on the night of the Star Festival. There's something I'd like to give you.
Peach's voice acting is rather quiet compared to the music. What's that? Alright, let's do this. Should probably move the TV to actually face it towards me. I'm starting to realize that's a brilliant idea. Alright. I do gotta say, I like how this feels so far. One thing I do gotta say about Mario Galaxy is the fucking star candies. They always make me hungry. Also, that is not a good way... good spot for the chat. Alright, fuck, it's going there. The microphone was blocking the entire chat window. And now my drink is blocking the chat window. I love how anything that Mario does, it always ends up with, you know, shit's on fire now. Isn't this a scene out of Gurren Lagann? Mario was indeed Naruto running. Well, I guess they couldn't afford a budget for Bowser's voice acting. Oh no, I took my hand out of the fucking thing already. Hold on, princess. I gotta fix this. Alright. Alright, I had to put my Wii strap back on. There's just so much destruction going on. This is like a fucking terroristic attack on the Mushroom Kingdom, actually.
Bowser, what do you expect?
Well, yeah, I mean, asking me before, I wouldn't really compare, you know, Bowser to be like Osama bin Laden. but you know, I guess that's just me. So a daily reminder to everybody that's tuning in, if there is any. I've never played Mario Galaxy before, so brace yourselves. It's gonna be ugly. I'm already drinking ahead of time, too. Also, this angle of me is not really that flattering. Shows off my depth. So Bowser just flat out steals the whole kingdom in this one.
Yeah.
Alright. I guess that's one way to do it.
I can build another kingdom, but you can't.
You can't build another princess. I thought all of Bowser's minions only have subtitles.
So I'm sitting here trying to think. Earlier I was trying to think of a name for my cat.
You still haven't named it? Hey, that one looks like a dick!
The cat or the... No.
No, the little debris that broke off. It looked like a penis.
Debris?
Yeah.
Debris? No, what's I say? No,
Yeah, debris, just like cheese.
I was going to name, it's something along the lines of like, something that has to do with being quiet, because she's very, when she meows, she's a very, very, very quiet meow, and then I realized I'm gonna have a Loki situation on my hand. Where he's the most asshole cat that will never shut up.
Yeah. We'll have Waz name your cat. How about that?
No.
You're awake. Finally, let's play.
It's like you don't trust Waz to name that cat.
Let Waz name your cat. I just gotta say, one thing that's gonna take me a while to get used to is the fact that it's like 3D, like spinning planet bullshit. It's really not helping me right now. Oh god, this is weird. Fucking... Yeah, it's gonna take me a while to get used to. Especially because I have fucking... Oh, first person. At least I could still go in the first person. Doesn't help much because I'm upside down at all times. This is neat. This is gonna take a while for me to get used to. I haven't played a game that actually used a Wiimote and Nunchuck for like at least 12 or 13 years. Oh god. I'm probably disgusting a lot of people right now. What the fuck am I doing? I got the thing. Oh, I saw one of those fucks. There he is. Now what do? I grabbed him! Hidden in the crater. Ay, 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 ay. Also, I should probably move my phone from underneath the microphone because they probably just heard that email I just got.
Yeah.
It's fine. Was that not the crater, or is there another crater? There's another crater. Hey, 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 hey. This is really hurting my head. I think this is one of the reasons why I never really took that much of an interest in the galaxy.
You'll get used to it.
I know, but it's gonna take me a very long time to get used to playing a 3D platformer with the camera upside down. Unless there's just some kind of control that I'm missing or something. Which I probably am. It's probably not helping that I'm drinking as well. So, figure that out. Hey, boo-boo. The Christmas basket. Wait, Christmas basket?
Our Christmas present is pass that kid.
I might be drunk already.
But gin doesn't make you drunk, remember?
Yeah, but I also put vodka in it, too. Yeah. Shoot it! I've lost all of my bits already. Oh, I covered up the chat, goddammit. Ooh. Magician used the power of autism. Use re is the magic word. Is this where I meet the galaxy waifu? Oh, this is gonna take me a very long time to get used to. I can do stuff like that, though. I'm good. It's good. Remember the first time I ever saw Rosalina?
You got a huge bone.
A
Right?
huge little kid boner, dude.
You then went out and bought all the amiibos.
Yeah,
Doesn't look-
I'm the one that went out and bought all the fucking Rosalina amiibos.
Then he paid someone else to take the fall.
Who actually bought all of them? Wasn't it Chris Chan?
No, I was not Christian.
There she goes, just like that.
Why does Walmart have the Rosalina amiibo for $100?
Shake Wiimote icon to spin into things that look breakable. This is gonna be jarring, I can already tell. Good to see you. Even though I've never played Galaxy, I've always fucking loved Luma. I used to have a Luma plush, actually. Don't fall into the black hole. Wonderful words of advice. Is that a Goomba? Oh yeah, that's right. Bowser just kidnapped everybody. That's right. Oh no, that's the black hole. Okay, bye. Too bad.
Just think, Mario gets ripped fucking apart. It's just, she's dead.
Hey Rurik, you want to go ahead and count all the deaths? Count every single time the word "too bad" is on the screen for me.
No, I am not gonna do that.
I don't have that kind of
Full-time job.
time. You have one additional Mario. It's a weird way to put a 1 up. You have one additional Mario. I did it. I got all 5 pieces of the star. What do I win? What do I win? Another star!
Oh, boy. Nice.
Nice camera. Get me out of here. One of those enemies should have the key. You can shake to spin around and make them dizzy. Once they're stunned, just run into them. Got it. I'm just gonna collect coins instead, though. Motherfucking Goomba-ass motherfucker. There it is. Rescuing my buddy in that base up there. I'll transform into a sling star. Transform. Oh shit, that's a Bingooba. did it. This is really fucking with my head, by the way. I think every fucking Mario fan felt the same way whenever they first played this game.
The music's really good though.
Oh yeah, this is the first Nintendo game to have a fully orchestrated soundtrack, right? Or not fully orchestrated, but like mostly orchestrated.
I think it's fully orchestrated actually.
Nah, because there's some places that are MIDI. It's obvious. Oh, I just... Hurry,
You're
down
obvious.
here. Gotcha.
Oh, so I might dip out for a minute. Just I'm gonna keep streaming. I'm gonna start playing Deus Ex, so I might dip out when there's like story stuff.
That's cool.
I'll keep
That's a
streaming up and
grand
watch.
star. And a big-ass
Grand
thing of
star.
cotton candy. Looks like a fucking big-ass thing of cotton candy. Find a way to stop that terrible machine. Gotcha. I'm on it. I'm really on it now. Alright, that's a switch. Turn off the flip switches on the... I know what I'm doing, God. I missed one. That's not even all of them. Fucking... That's not even...
V-Sync, double buffering. How about no? Let's not do that.
I mean, it could be worse. It could be triple buffering.
There is an option for that, but it doesn't automatically do that.
Honestly, on a like 144 monitor, like V-Sync's not a bad thing.
Yeah, well,
I mean, of course you get the frames, but if you actually get the frames that it's requiring for the V-Sync, it's decent.
turn off motion blur.
I sometimes use V-Sync for GTA. It works fine.
I'll keep Bloom off because I'll beat Bloom on because it can be nice. I'll keep everything else on.
Ugh. I hate
Take a
Bloom in
minute.
video games. Hate it, hate it, hate it. Look at that. It's sexy time party house, I guess. That's where Rosalina lives. Is it bad that I'm almost finished with this drink already? Is that just excessive? High score of 16 coins. I did it. I thought that said Terrence. I found the Terrence gallery. Gallery. Galleria. Isn't Rosalina the only Mario princess to actually have a fucking backstory? Like a proper one.
Let's find out. Let's find out. Let's go to YouTube and type in game theory.
Don't do that to me. It's
What?
bad enough that one of my former coworkers said, "You sound a lot like Matt Pat." I fired him.
You fired him on the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Star power, just to project images of the galaxies. I love Guitar Hero. These round rooms are called domes. Powered by the star power you restored. This is what's called the terrace. Save my game, yes. I'm gonna have to remember to do that often. Because I know I'm gonna fuck something up. It's just tradition for me.
All right. This is what the search results brought up. Game Theory Rosalina Unmasked Part 1. Super Mario Galaxy. There we go.
Please don't tell me your dad botting it. Paraphrase it, please. Find the transcript.
I gotta know how to dab bot.
That's how you do it. You have to dab, and then you just read off the URL that you want to put in.
Dab.
You have to dab and then
Okay.
go http://youtube.com/ and then you have to list off every individual letter.
Sounds complicated.
Yeah. That's why we randomly
want
just
me
start listing off numbers and letters. Point at the screen with Wiimote, aim at it and press A. Distance from the observatory. The bigger the greater the distance. Well, let's go to this.
Did you draw a picture for a friend? Fernando Pablo.
Pablo? Yeah. I
Yeah.
gave him an 8-bit one just like us. What's Pablo's
Well,
real
it's not
name?
exactly an 8-bit.
Yeah. You know what I mean. That's stylized stuff. What's Pablo?
Stylized.
Is Pablo actually named Pablo?
No,
Okay.
he just explained how people said he looked like a Pablo, so they're gonna call him Pablo.
Works for me. He's always gonna be Pablo for me.
Mhm.
I mean, I know what the G and the M stand for in his name.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it stood for Game Freak.
What?
Yeah, the G and M. and
No,
Freak.
he
Game Freak.
I don't know if he's just fucking with me, but he told me it stood for General Motors.
I'm pretty sure he's already fucking with you.
If he is, then he did a good job, because I was like, really? He says, yeah, dude, I'm just a big fan of Chevy cars. I thought it was pretty funny. I mean, it's better than what I thought it was. I thought it was like General Masturbator or something. Or I thought it was like Game Master or something. Oh god, I keep forgetting I don't have Flood anymore.
But
Maybe I shouldn't... Okay, never mind, I can do that. I keep forgetting that I can just, you know, jump off and fall into the bottom part of the planet. I'm guessing I can only pick up the star bits with the Wiimote. That suddenly makes a lot of sense. What do you have to say for yourself? Touch them with
I'm trying to
your...
figure out how to dab bot work.
To grab as many star bits as I can. Wait, what?
Hmm?
What are you saying?
What?
Who? Alright, I'm getting the hang of this. It's fucking still jarring, though, but... Sure, this runs on the same engine that fucking Mario 64 does.
It's an improved upon engine.
I mean, that's probably not true, I just made it up, so... Take that with a grain of salt. Okay. That's how I do it.
You made that noise as soon as I put your video in theater mode so I could see it bigger. And you just like what are you doing on some balls?
You know, just hanging out. Having a good time on some balls. Ooh.
I'm really making sure you explore the whole lot of them.
Yeah, all of the balls, they also look like Chips Ahoy cookies, so... You never had some Chips Ahoy balls?
So what exactly are you supposed to do? Because you're kind of killing yourself.
I'm fine. I'm fine. I insist.
Wait. In Super Mario Galaxy, you start off with only 3 hit points?
Apparently. Previous games, you got about 8.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, what the fuck? I like how everything is done by shaking in this game.
Gotta shake it.
Man, I should have
Shake
played
it.
this game whenever I was a fucking 11-year-old. I would have had so much more endurance back then.
It's a masturbation joke.
Yes. Oh, wait, I see what I gotta do here. Hey, bada bing. This is pretty cool.
And you thought you weren't going to like it.
No, I figured I would. But, like, it's
Really?
jarring. Even though it's an old game, it's still a new concept for me.
Accidentally hit the wrong button.
Oh, no. I keep forgetting I could just do this. Kill people. Did Mario just say Yowie?
That doesn't work. So how do you work Dabbot?
It's 3 exclamation points and then P.
Then what?
P.
E?
P.
P?
As in the letter P.
The hell is the letter P?
P.
I put 3 exclamation marks and nothing happened.
You have to do it as a separate thing. You can't just edit it. Otherwise it'll be mad. Ew. What the fuck is that thing? I never thought they could actually make Petey Piranha look grosser.
Oh, we couldn't play it.
Well. Oh my god.
I hope you're happy.
I am. I didn't really want to listen to MatPat anymore. I hear him enough on a regular basis anyways. Because he's usually the butt of a lot of shit posts. Come back here, you piece of shit. I did it! Except for he's not beat yet. It's always 3. Oh my god. This wouldn't be that nerve-wracking if I actually had more than just 3 HP. Mario's gone from killing things inside the Mushroom Kingdom to outside the Mushroom Kingdom, and now he's just killing things outside of the world. Mario's a fucking serial killer. Game freak.
Hey, you want me to read you some of the game theory titles videos?
Sans' Papyrus. Ness.
My god, it even sounds like clickbait. Game theory, Pokemon, the terrifying truth of fire Pokemon.
Oh, that's because fucking Game Theory is nothing but fucking, clickbait.
Clickbait now.
Like, he even admits it himself.
What was in one of his game theory videos?
No, he made a Reddit comment about it, I think. Like, he basically said, like, with the current ad revenue-ish situation on YouTube, the only way you can get views is by people that, like, are thinking it's, like, actual canon shit.
So sad.
Eat my bits.
Don't tell people to eat your bits.
Eat my bits. Eat my Ghibli bits.
No.
I'm sure this big-ass pocket full of candy will be helpful on your adventure.
Look, it's a black star. Which, that doesn't really make much sense. Stars
black limo.
emit light.
Don't worry, the game's just a negative for some reason. What am I gonna do now? A snack of cosmic proportions. Oh yeah. Mr. Krabs. Speaking of snack of cosmic proportions.
You going back to the good egg galaxy?
Only one I got unlocked.
A snack of cosmic proportions.
I like how the cutscenes you can still interact with the Wii remote. It's an innovative feature. Look at it go! Look at it go! Look at it go! Look at it go! So, you know how they always say that Mario Galaxy is more one of the more linear Mario games? I guarantee you I'm gonna get so fucking lost later on. Like, I'm betting
Because
you.
of all the flipping around.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of lost already, but...
Just imagine how that camera's gonna screw you later.
What you got for me, friend? I got a hungry friend sharing my snacks. Fling me up, Johnny boy, and I'll do it. Oh god. I like the swing shot from Ratchet and Clank. Whee!
Why are you thinking about that right about now?
I don't know. That's another game I'm gonna stream soon.
Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, dude, I fucking love Ratchet and Clank.
Which one?
Probably all of them.
Fuck no.
At least the
That's too
first
many.
4.
Hmm?
I said at least the first 4. You know, the original Going Commando, Up Your Arsenal, and then Deadlocked. After that, I've never really played any of them, because I didn't own a PlayStation 3.
Deadlocked was pretty fun.
I like Deadlock a lot, actually. I mean, of course, it kind of sucked because you didn't have Clank with you, but it was still fucking awesome.
Did you really need the Clank?
Not in that game, though, but like it's still cool to have. It makes platforming more fun. But then again, there's not really much platforming in that game anyways.
Nope. Oh, it wasn't.
I just realized I could stream Wii Fit now.
You're gonna stream Wii Fit every day until you're fit.
I actually thought about doing that. Like, do a segment called Getting Fit with Jamel.
To motivate you, you had to go out there in a Speedo so everyone can make negative comments about your body.
Stream in a Speedo, is that what you're telling me to do?
Yeah.
I don't really
That
want to
way
do that.
As you slowly transition to being fit, the negative comments will slowly transition to...
Positive comments.
No,
Oh wait, I mean
more
like
eh.
mediocre comments, got it.
Mhm.
Look at that over there. Look at this pill capsule with stuff on it. Collect all the things. Wasn't I just on this fucking planet? I think I was. Yes, I definitely was. Alright, it's because I went into this one. Wasn't I just on this one too?
These maps are kind of a mess, aren't they?
Yeah.
I can already tell there's gonna be a reoccurring theme.
What, me jumping in the same fucking cannon
Yeah.
star over and over again? Thinking
Yeah.
I'm going the right way? Oh, no, okay, now I'm in the right way. Okay.
Although, to be fair, this time it isn't your fault.
Hey, you. Yeah, you got any tasty star bits? I'm a Twitch affiliate, I get bits. You need 100? How many do I fucking have? Do I have 100? I have 91. You've got to be fucking me. It's just like the fucking 100 coins all over again.
Maybe it is.
Alright, I got 100. I got exactly 100. Eat up, bitch.
You know, it doesn't really look like there's gonna be the 100 coin, because, I mean, this environment was way too small. It's probably because it's just gonna be all those bits.
Alright, somehow in the process I've lost 4. Even though I just had 100, I lost 4 somehow. Alright, eat up, fat lips. Transform.
Well, at least you have enough, don't you?
I fed this thing candy and it just turned into a planet. I love how the solar system works. If I overeat, I turn into a galaxy. I also suffer from mild indigestion. Only after Mexican food, though. Okay, I fell. I did it. I did the thing. Oh, dude, there's a one up there. I don't need it. Fuck it.
You say it before you sacrifice yourself to get it.
I'm not that far into the game where I don't know what I'm doing yet. Yet is the keyword in that.
Wait, it's just right there. You can easily get that.
Fuck it. The
Like, I
fact that you
caught a
just
glimpse of
told
that
me,
one-up.
the fact that you told me to go back and get it just means that it would have fucked me. I know how you work, Riri.
Something that easy would have fucked you over.
Yeah. Remember,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
me we're talking about here.
You have no faith in yourself.
None whatsoever.
No, that is sad.
I love how I don't get coins from enemies. I get star bits. I need energy. Oh god, there goes the gravity. This is really fucking neat. Except for I think I just fucked myself here. Yes, I did. This is still really weird for my little brain to handle. Oh god, I'm heading straight for the thing. Oh! Oh. I keep thinking I'm gonna fall off these fucking platforms, but instead I just loop around. It's fucking jarring, dude. I can't even reposition the camera.
Can you do anything?
I can do stuff, it's just I can't reposition
Correctly?
the camera. It's hurting my head.
Yeah, I told you the camera's gonna do that eventually. I could tell it's gonna be jarring towards the head. You're gonna have to adapt.
Tell you a story about shitty roommates. There was one time whenever I lived with Noob that what's the best way of describing this? Because I don't want to bash Noob and make him seem like a bad person.
Yeah, let's do it live.
Live bashing. Fuck.
Yep. In front of... Huh. Reload. Something doesn't seem right. A group of people.
Hold on, I'm
Live
having
bash
so much
noob.
trouble with this. Give me a minute, and then I'll tell the story. Hey, I did it finally. Okay. No, there was one time
Actually,
whenever
that
I
kinda looks like fun.
suspected Noob from stealing my food. I was right.
Do you need all that food?
Yes, because I had no money whenever I was living on my own. There's also the time I
Well,
took a
you-
baseball bat through Noob's door.
Why?
Because the dude was being a piece of shit.
If it was that situation, I guess it makes sense.
It was whenever my computer was broken and I was letting him use my computer parts to make his games run better. And he was being an asshole to me, so I told him, give me back my fucking RAM, and he got mad at me. So he came back into my room and threw them at me, so I chased him down with a baseball bat and hit his door.
Did you repair that door?
Yeah, I had to. I didn't really care,
course.
though.
You kind of put a hole through it.
Noob was afraid of me for like a week or two.
Yeah, you kind of just came at him with a baseball bat.
Should have hit him, to be honest. I wouldn't have had to waste money on a new door.
Yeah, it's just been him in a lawsuit. And medical bills.
Nah.
And bail.
We had a place to hide the body.
Had to be able to hide it perfectly.
Yes. Welcome to the galaxy. Welcome to the galaxy. How do I get up there? I'm not good at timing battles in this. Killing a man over a piece of RAM. Dude, RAM is expensive. It's justified, dude. How do I fucking manage? Can I just backwards long jump into it? No, they actually fix backwards long jumping. They make it so it propels you forward. Wait, what's this? Never noticed this warp pipe here. Alright, it's nothing special. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's just useless. Oh wait, I see what I'm supposed to... No, wait, yeah, okay, yeah, never mind. But you know what, I'm gonna sit here and do this instead, because it's quite fun, actually. Okay, never mind, I'm not getting anywhere with this. The reign of hardcore speedrun strats are going bad. Alright, fuck it. It'd be really cool if you could play this game with like a GameCube controller or something. Oh shit, I'm getting off track. I did all that for a fucking 1-up, are you kidding me? I thought that was gonna give me something cooler. Look at me go. Why are all the planets in this game shaped like nutsacks? Hey, it's a toad! What up, bitch? You saved me, thanks, Mario. In return, let me tell you a secret about this place. Apparently those spiky things just hate coconuts. What? Alright, coconuts are a new game mechanic. Added in just now, because we decided to. Unless the things that I keep hitting are coconuts. In that case, that's not what... These are not coconuts. Okay, these are different.
But yeah, for the nuts, I think that might be a Freudian flip thing for you.
What about coconuts or the ball sacks? Everything's shaped like a ball sack.
Sacks.
If you look hard enough, like really, really hard, you'll find a dick pretty much anywhere. Tell you a story about pissing off Andar? I mean, other than being self-explanatory, the oldest time I think I've ever pissed off Andar was whenever I first met him. I had been given beta access to Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and that was before I really knew Andar was really into Counter-Strike. And I had the opportunity to give Andar a copy of the beta as well, but instead I gave it to somebody random on my friends list because I wanted to get rid of it. I didn't know Andar wanted it. So whenever he saw me launch Global Offensive beta, he thought I was fucking with him. I was like, no, I actually have beta access. And he's like, oh, I mentioned very slyly that I also had another access to it. And he fucking got so mad at me. I had no idea. I feel bad about that, though. In fact, I referenced that to him the other night. He's still mad. Alright, I'm not doing anything that I should be. Okay. These enemies are different. These enemies are different. Oh, wait, wait. I see what I gotta do. Hey, yo, bitch ass. Alright, never mind. That is not what I'm supposed to do. I kind of assumed that if he hit his head on the rock, he'd die. Oh, get pwned. Oh, I should play Skyward Sword. I've never actually played Skyward Sword before. Because, you know, it's bad.
Skyward Sword!
So I don't get it. If, like, I'm on a galaxy that has, like, no gravity, what's stopping me from just jumping, like, really high into the thing? Like, to where I need to go? Oh my god. Mario, do the thing! Thank you. Probably should have grabbed coins before I went up here, but I didn't. Gotta save the toad. And then jump on him a lot. Here's a great idea. What if you tried to bounce something back at them? Okay, I guess I have to do something with these fucking coconuts that apparently is in the game now. Yep. Coconuts are apparently always... They're heat-seeking coconuts as well. Hot damn. I can't even go in the first person. I thought I'd find a secret if I looked up there, but I didn't.
Ah! Sounds like Pablo.
The one and only.
The one and
Yeah.
only Pablo.
Except, you know, for all the other Pablos out there.
No, this Pablo.
Dude,
We're all just...
oh my god.
Okay. Okay, good. I thought I just fucked myself by jumping directly in the lava. Holy
I got
shit!
screwed playing Mario Party, dude.
That's how it always goes.
That was my first time playing Mario Party, too.
Wait, Mario Party 2 or Mario Party in, like...
5.
Oh, okay. I was about to say,
Like,
Mario Party 2
playing
is the
Mario
best
Party
one.
in general. That was my first time playing Mario Party in general.
I have no idea what I'm supposed to do here. Okay, it's not that. Still not that. Wait, is he gonna shoot coconuts at me? He's shooting coconut. What kind of fucking lava squid shoots coconuts at people? Pretty sure there's like a certain type of temperature that you're supposed to keep fucking coconuts at, and I'm pretty sure molten lava is not that temperature. Are you fucking Ganondorfing me with this? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm supposed to sit here and play tennis with the lava squid. Let me get my fucking empty bottle ready. Come on, shoot another coconut. Shoot coconut. Okay, that's damaging.
Oh my god, man.
Where is...
Well, at least we got net play to work on the,
I've
Mario
never
Party.
gotten net play to work on Dolphin.
Everybody has to have the same settings, everything.
Okay, coins. Yes, feed me. Feed me.
I have Melee, Mario Baseball. There's that one game that it's on Mario Kart that I've always wanted to play and I never got to play.
Double Dash?
Double
Dude,
Dash.
Double Dash is the best. Are you fucking... Okay, that's intercepting, you fucking piece of shit.
I'm like, are you fucking me? No, I am not. What game was this? Oh, Four Swords. Legend of Zelda 4 Swords.
I did it. I beat the man. Dude, I've always looked at it like Mario is just the, like... I'm a Swedish plumber. I'm here to fix your pipes. He's just horny. He's looking for putang. That's why he goes through all this bullshit just to save Peach over and over again.
Yeah, I know Peach ain't giving it up.
You got a star. I did it. Save my game. Yes! My hands are already getting sweaty in the Wiimote. Guys, I get to go to a new one now. A new galaxy's appeared. Honey Hive Galaxy, boy! I can't wait to hear It's Hip the Fuck Bees. B Mario takes flight. This is still really jarring for me, by the way. I'm not used to the fucking weird three-dimensional stuff. It's very odd. For me, at least. Dude, I love this music so much. Our queen, Rosalind. Are you the queen? No. What's that? Oh shit, that's a big coin. Ooh. Look at that! It's a fucking spicy brown mustard mushroom. It's fucking delicious, Pablo. Oh, dude, I have camera control. Whoa! I did it. Hold A to buzz around. How do I... Oh, just hold on A. Okay. Oh, wait, that's what the tutorial just told me. Okay, I should have listened. Hey, got a coin. Ow, fuck, okay. Note to self, fucking power-ups work just like they do in older Mario games. If I get hit, I lose it. You push me too hard and I'm gonna buzz. You know, I remember first seeing the B Mario power-up. Like in a trailer or something, and I felt so weird about it. I didn't know how to feel. Okay, I lost B Mario. Great. Oh, there's another one. Had I known that, I wouldn't have gone back. Bees never lie. This is very interesting to me. Because, dude, I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know why, but, like, using the Wiimote to actually do things, it's a neat concept, but it feels weird to me. But it's satisfying. Oh shit, I almost died. See, the game's fucking with me now. It's getting me used to the whole, like, you could be all over the planet if you want to be. And I almost fuck up. What do you have to say about yourself? Grab a flower stem and shake it for a boost. Gotcha! What? Yeah! Oh, I see. Whee! I did it. This is neat. And I'm not just describing myself. This is really neat. Dude, I can't wait to play fucking Odyssey, dude. I'm gonna have exactly the same feeling. Oh, okay, good. Hey, yo, what up? You wanna make sweet and vicious bee love? Hey, Better TV's working again. That's good. I actually never used Better TTV. I've always been Frank Facey. With a most vexing predicament and require assistance. Wait, what the fuck do I... Oh, okay. I see. I gotta go diddle the queen bee. That's the ticket. Oh, come on, tough stuff. Look at that fur rendering, dude. Fucking gonna give NVIDIA a run for their money. How do I disembark the bee lady? How do I disembark? Okay, there we go. Oh no, I've lost my bee power-ups. Alright, bees cannot touch water. Humans can also not stand on flowers. I did it. Look at me go. Oh shit, Toads. Hey, it's Captain Toad! I completely forgot that Captain Toad was a character in Galaxy before it became his own game. The fuck is that Toad doing in the background? He's like, look at me handstand! Oh, he's spinning.
That toad over there is a thrill seeker.
Oh hey, it's also that one that guy uses. for a
Picture the
profile
toad over
picture.
there on the edge is probably extremely aroused.
He's so horny.
Yeah. Like his next move, he's gonna be standing on the edge with his dick.
Oh,
He's gonna be just standing on his dick.
that sounds nice. High score, 13 coins. I'm so good at high scores, dude. You've discovered a new galaxy. My friends that just arrived. Nice. Save my game. Yes, sirree, Bob. But these toads are like, yeah, sure, nice of them to let me crash on this fucking shit. Where's my brother? I don't know, fuck us shit. I love toad voices. What's the sign say? Garage, your one stop to intergalactic starship repairs. Gotcha. Wonder if they have AAA. Well, I guess let's get back to work. Power stars aren't going to collect themselves, you know. You know what I saw the other day that was actually kind of cool? Somebody made a vape mod that's out of a Wii remote. And the only way that you can get the coils to prime is by hitting the B button, which is actually kind of cool. Oh great, I wonder if I'm gonna have to battle Wiggler in this game. Just like every Mario game. Yo, what you got to save to me? Tough stuff. This rock fell from the sky. It was scary. Oh, it's candy. Oh. Wee. That's how I do it. I'm not good at the timing, though. This is very neat and interesting. Kind of got over that like initial jarring feeling of weird camera movements.
Wonder if you just look at the ground when that happens.
Yeah, it's... I'm realizing I should be paying attention to just Mario's location.
Look at the ground.
Yeah,
Do it again. Look at the ground.
look at the ground.
Focus on the ground every single time.
Just don't even play the game. Just play the... Look at the ground.
Yeah.
Look at the flowers. Alright, that thing scared me, I guess.
Back to the ground. Look at the sky, and then back to the ground.
Now back at me. To the ground. Oh, okay. You keep playing your guitar, Pablo. You need to be the best man. You need to be the guitar hero. Yo, they made a sign pop out of nowhere. What's the sign say? It's me, the famous Gilboard. If you want to climb this wall, you better listen up. When you stick to the wall after jump, do a wall jump. Okay, that's it. Tell me to do a gulp. Thank you for introducing me to this character, Nintendo. I look forward to its character arc.
That were single player.
This is the Super Mario Galaxy anime theme song. Good shit. Whoa, look at this. Ow. Look at all these things they're dropping that I'm not picking up. Mario just hits his head off against the ground. Mamma mia, I got a fucking concussion. Oh shit. Ugh. Huh. What's this? Oh, look at that. What's that? Ah, dude, fuck it, I'm invincible. Fuck your shit, I'm really good. Fucked. Really fucked. Oh shit. That was cool. I need to find some form of health. What is that? Give me that. I did it. Oh shit, now I have 6 health. Oh, nice. Ooh. Get it, son. This is neat. Neat as fuck. Whoa.
Are you like just going through all your Mario games that you have?
Actually, I've never played Galaxy before in my life. Except for, like, the very beginning demo part that they had at, like, Blockbuster. So, in preparation for Odyssey, because I'm still waiting for my Switch to get here. Oh yeah, definitely. Oh my god, I almost had it there. There we go. Everybody knows the Switch is just the same hardware as the Wii U. That's not true at all, by the way. Oh, fuck. What? Okay. Good thing the game design's on my side. Otherwise, I'd be fucked there.
Someone has to be.
At least it's the game design. Just as long as
Usually
I'm
the
not...
camera fucks you later, like it usually does.
Yeah, 3D games do not cooperate with me. Like, at all. Oh, it's a windmill. Okay, I thought it was an elevator. Jamel's really perspective. Oh, Starbitch! I'm guessing you're the boss that I have to fight. There's no boss music, so I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Jamel has expert timing. Really expert timing. Super expert timing. I did it. Oh shit. Oh, he spit out candy. I love this candy. Look at that. Just like fucking Womp's Fortress, dude. World record's gonna be mine in no time. What is even the world record for Mario Galaxy? I have no idea. I've never watched a speedrun of it before.
Mario.
The thing I just need to know is my game on world record pace. I want to be the world record holder for some kind of a speedrun.
Wait, 100% or just completed?
Completed, I guess.
2 hours, 34 minutes, and 2 seconds. I mean, 26 seconds.
Alright, so about halfway there.
And that says Mario. Because there's also the Luigi run.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do the Luigi run?
Maybe. Luigi's awesome. L is Real 2014.
Pretty sure.
Hello, what do you have to say for yourself? Oh, sorry, I'm gonna jump on you first. Oh, okay. I guess I'm gonna go kill these things for you. Blech. Squashing some fucking bugs. Oh shit, that's heat-seeking. Okay, that's awesome. Look at me go. I want to snap along with the music, but I can't. Because I kind of got a Wiimote on my hands.
Snap, crackle, and pop.
God damn it. Oh, do I not? Okay. So in order to get more than just 3 health bars, I have to continuously find this mushroom with a star on it. Every single course. It's a good sense of progression there. Okay. Don't fall. Did you die already? God damn it. I need to collect my candies.
Damn, this game is taking forever to download. It's only a gig. Why are you taking 28 minutes to download a gig?
They're grateful for my assistance. I'm gonna assist that, if you know what I mean. Classic.
Hey, look, it's Super Mario Sunshine.
Is it?
Oh, I'm looking at the ISO.
Boy. Fling. There's a lot of black holes in this galaxy, dude. Hold on, boss battle. Oh, fuck. I forgot there's water. Don't worry, though. I'm good. But gotta squash this bug.
Oh, snap, guys. Look at the way he poked it. Snap like that. Snap. Say like a snap. Snap. Fucking snake.
I'm heading out. Y'all have fun.
I am. I will have fun. Goodbye, Rick. Is it shitting? Okay, it's not shitting. It is just giving me bombs. Blech. Try to Pablo up a bit.
What?
Said you're kind of quiet. I had to turn you up a bit.
Oh, you turned me down probably because of the guitar.
Probably.
Which is understandable. So.
I think I might have been just been carried over from last night. I was getting so fucking salty last night, dude.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you were there until the end of it.
I was there. That shit was so weird. Man, I still got... Did that clip ever save?
Yeah, I was watching it a lot today.
You got fucking phone, dude.
Fucking gunshot brided. I'll just wait for the next rotation. Alright, or I could just fuck up. Fuck up viciously. God damn it.
Dude, did you know that the GameCube was more powerful than the PS2?
Yeah. That's why I like playing GameCube versions of games that are ported to all of them.
You know, I could just go to PC.
Oh. Look at that, I did it. That puts me to like what, 6 or 7?
Now all we need is a PS3 emulator for the PC.
I'm really surprised there isn't one yet. Is there a fucking Xbox emulator yet?
I'm pretty sure there is.
Because, I mean, we have a fucking Wii U emulator now.
Yeah, we got a PS2 emulator, Xbox PS.
Oh, dude, a hungry Luma. About to feed that bitch. Hey, I heard somebody wants some feeding. What you got for me?
You're gonna smack that daddy's back to the star.
400? I don't even have that much. God damn it.
You're gonna feed that Luma there and smack it back into the Star Stellar.
Yeah, well, the issue is I don't have enough for it, so it can wait, I guess.
Ooh, is that Rosalina?
Yeah,
Rosalina.
she thick.
You know what? Fuck you, whoever said that. Let me find out who it was. Oh, I see. It was Warthorn, the pussy that ran away from the game fight. Yeah, I still hold on to that.
You know what they say about grudges? Go fuck yourself.
I don't give a shit about grudges.
Well, let's get this over with, I guess, so that guys can see me get mad at it. I've only read about these, and I don't really want to experience one.
Never think I'd see a Resonance Cascade, let alone create one.
Oh, this is gonna be
Hey
bad.
guys, Warthorn is a puss, by the way.
What the fuck? What the fuck did I do to you today?
Oh, look at the little penguins,
No,
dude.
it's not what you did, it's what you have done in the past.
It's what you've done in the past. Yo, why does he have a Nazi armband on? Are you a surfer
It's
too?
fucking-
Yeah, bruh. Ride those sick waves.
No, I'll tell you what. Since you beat that one cunt, Agatha, whatever her name was.
Point your Wii remote
I'll
at
give
the
you a
screen.
nut. I'll
Okay,
give you a testy.
Okay.
that's the basic position. This
Pablo, have
is
you been drinking?
the basic position. I've been drinking. You know I was drinking.
The Pablo, not Jamal.
Twist left and starting position. Gotcha.
You should
This is
get
how the
Dr.
media
Eliminator
thinks everybody
and
uses a
off
Wii
and
remote.
Play Mario Party.
Did it.
Because I was just playing with my friend in Cali. Do not play.
Oh god, this feels weird as fuck.
What are you doing?
the fucking manta ray surfing shit.
Oh, okay.
I did it.
Hi guys.
Oh god, thanks for giving me a heads
I'll
up.
give 'em a cookie.
How many times do you think I'm gonna fuck this up, boys? Good luck.
20.
Thanks,
I
Penguin.
say around a good 20 times.
Well, I got at least fucking 16 lives, I think. Unless I'm thinking of Mario Sunshine still. Oh, there's an extra life. I got it.
Any extra
12.
Mario?
I have 12. Oh, yeah, an extra Mario, sorry. Fucking Mario 124 in this bitch. This hurts my arm already. I'm really out of shape. I can't even hold the Wii remote. I'm so weak. I need to lift more. Oh, fuck, 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 fuck. Okay, there we go. Goodbye.
You need to pump some
Oh,
iron.
God, that's weird. That's really weird. Alright, I can do this. I can do this. I'm good, I swear. Guys, I'm sponsored by fucking Mad Cats.
Don't worry, guys. He's a little, on the weak side right now. He got a little keeping still problem.
This cat's very confusing.
Cats are genuinely confusing. Like the music, though. Oh, fuck, I missed the one up. Alright, I'm down a life. I'm down a Mario. I'm sponsored by Matt Pat. Oh, I can jump! I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't do that! Why did I do that? I don't know why I jumped.
Fucking wrecked.
Alright, fucking... Here we go. Third time's the charm. Tryhard pants went on. Casual pants went off. Dude, my tryhard panties. It's got a picture of Trihex on my crotch. I've programmed it so every single time I queef, it goes hype.
Oh, gross. You gotta
Sponsored
hit
by
that.
Trihex. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. What are you doing? I'm pointing left and you're going right! You cannot do a U-turn on a mana ray!
But watch Mario try.
Good morning, USA. Oh shit. I had a feeling it was gonna be a wonderful day.
You have me thinking of a fucking mashup of this song with fucking the American Dad theme song now.
Really?
Because it sounds like it would go together really well.
Damn. I nailed it then.
Oh.
Good morning, USA. I had a feeling it was gonna be a wonderful day.
I don't know the rest though.
Oh wait, I forgot I can not go fast. I got this, I got this, I got
have
this.
a kid with a speech impediment.
You looking forward to having that kid with a speech impediment, Pablo?
No, I said I like, cause I'm just,
Oh fuck.
saying random shit and making random voices. So I have to feel like I'm gonna have a, God's gonna be like, I'm gonna strike you when the time's right.
Oh my god, no, 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 no. These fucking sharp-ass turns do not work well with this fucking Wiimote scheme. I did it! I did it!
Don't stop beating the microphone.
I think I just fell off anyway, so. 104.55, you deserve a gold medal, here you go. Oh, it's a star. Cool.
Same thing, right?
Are you gonna at least put it on top? Yeah, number 1.
Hey, Jamal. Stop it. Stop it. Go ahead. Get help.
Stop!
Stop it.
Get help.
Get help. This is correct. Hi everyone. This is crack.
What if he is smoked crack like right on screen?
I mean, I could.
I mean, Hermie, what was his name? Hermie Holman?
Hermie Horp.
I don't know what the fuck his name was.
Smoking crack.
I just want to kill.
You discovered
my
a new
mother
galaxy.
fucking self.
I'm hanging out in the Terrence galaxy.
The only galaxy I'm in is the Depression galaxy.
Alright guys, you're gonna... Hey, how you doing today?
The only galaxy I'm a part of is AA.
No, we're gonna need a little bit of medium white.
That's a lie.
And get a little alizarin crimson. We're gonna blend that together. And we're gonna do little X strokes on the canvas.
Let's go to the
Here,
Flip
I'll be
Switch
back
Galaxy.
on the-
Who
yeah,
named
video.
these?
There.
Guys, let's head to the burnt out light bulb galaxy.
Everybody needs a friend. Everybody needs a friend.
This looks so straightforward. I can already tell I'm gonna fuck it up several times. Alright, I could do this with no problem. Oh, I'm spinning. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, fuck.
Oh snap, there's two discs. What the fuck?
I got this, I got this, I got this.
USA, good morning, USA. I don't know why, it just stuck in my head.
It happens, I guess.
It seems today. No, hell no.
I mean, Pablo, we know you're the #1 fan of Family Guy in this group. Actually, no, I think Fruit might actually have that liberty now. Did I do it? I did it.
Peter, you promised me not this you weren't gonna drink at the stag party.
I didn't drink, Lois. I drank a lot. Ha. Are you... Okay, I'm great. Woo!
Yeah, you bastard.
Hey, you wanna play a game? It's called
Swear
Drink
to
the
tell
Beer.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. I do. You bastard.
Alright, we gotta stop making Family Guy jokes here. This is not a safe haven for Family Guy fans.
Copyright.
Oh, there we
We'll
go.
be like, no! Silly rabbit. Tricks are for kids. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Pablo, you're giving me a brain aneurysm.
Okay. He's all like, what the hell are you selling? Sex jelly or... Oh man. Oh man.
Nice.
You only goblins! Ah!
Look, I did it.
Alright, everybody, who wants a cookie? Let's all send him
Look at
a
that.
single dick cookie.
Send me a cookie. Bake me a cookie in my house. Oh, I was telling someone the Rerook earlier. I think you might find funny. So Adobe and Tony Hawk partnered up and they're doing a... what's the word I'm looking for? They're doing a competition where if you design a board graphic, whichever one they like the most, you can, like, win a day with Tony Hawk. So I said I want to win so that way I could stream with him.
Okay.
I'd play his games.
Like, no, nigga, we're not gonna go skateboard. Excuse my language. I didn't mean to slip that out. It slipped out, I mean.
Hey, I used to skateboard.
We're not gonna skateboard, Tony Hawk. We're gonna play some video games, so come on.
Dude, if I could challenge fucking Tony Hawk to a game of Trick Attack, that'd be awesome. You can't tell me it wouldn't be. Or like graffiti, free skate, horse, anything.
Alright.
I feel like if that were to happen, though, my goal would get Tony Hawk to be pissed off at me.
My homeboy wants to play PUBG.
You gonna go play PUBG?
I don't know. I'm just gonna see if this works. If it works. Oh, it fucking works! Nintendo! Woohoo!
Oh, are you doing Sunshine? Why don't you just stream a playthrough of it? I'll be sure to clip all the times you get fucked. Nice. Ugh.
Oh my god, man. This game brought back so many memories.
I want to get off Wild Goomba's ride.
So many memories. What was my combination? I don't remember my combination. I don't care. I'm just gonna go with.
Wait, combination.
I'll go Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong.
Oh, I thought you were playing Sunshine.
No, it's because Mario Kart has the exact same thing.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, I thought you were fucking mocking the opening sequence to Sunshine, because I just heard that a lot. I don't know what I'm doing here. Other than losing a lot of health. Nope. Oh wait, I think I see. Where's that bullet bill again? Hey you, follow me. E. Ah, you smell hot.
Oh god.
Bleh.
How do I use it? X? B?
Whatever your Z button's bound to is how you switch.
Oh, I see. Wrecked. I wrecked him.
You made it, but I won't even need my dad's help to take care of you.
Oh, snap.
Get up, you mega leg.
That was a pretty big shell. Oh, you hell no. Get that shit out of here.
Seems really gruesome for a first boss.
Ugh.
Oh wait, am I gonna do like a Shadow of the Colossus type thing? Is that what I do here? Yep. I almost died there. Ah, dude, Rusty Bucket Bay, my favorite Banjo-Kazooie level.
Oh god.
Oh god damn it.
B? Why? Oh snap, what the hell?
Bullet bills, more like bullet bads, ha. Oh god damn it. They saw through my clever ruse.
Oh snap, that was dangerous. Play one racetrack and I'm done. Oh. Alright. Alright, I got a shitload of games on my Right, well, I'm gonna go play PUBG a little bit. I'm pretty sure he's not gonna be on that long, so.
That's cool. Take your time,
Alright, man,
family.
catch you on the flip side.
Catch you on the flip side, G. Ugh. Alright, got a good window of opportunity here.
Oh.
Oh god, never mind, it's gone. The window of opportunity has been closed and replaced with a brick wall instead. Nice. Great. At least I know what to do now. Could be a lot worse. Oh, I forgot I have to shake it. Wish there was a way to skip a cutscene, because I've already seen this. I get it, I'm bad, I have to see it again. but my question is why?
Hello.
Oh god, Benny.
Ah,
Benny.
there's somebody in here. What's
Benny.
up, Jamel?
Hello.
What's up, Jamel?
I'm streaming Mario Galaxy now.
Streaming Mario Galaxy? Nice.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've never played this game before.
Really? Galaxy is great.
I know. I'm enjoying it.
Is it Galaxy 1 or 2?
Galaxy 1. Plan is if my Switch doesn't arrive by tomorrow, I'm fucking moving on to Galaxy 2.
It's been a while, but I remember Galaxy being pretty tight.
I mean, I'm having fun playing it. The only issue is it's really jarring for me. Just
Going
because,
from Sunshine to that?
yeah. I mean, not only that, but like having the idea of like, okay, if you jump off this, don't worry, you're fine, because on the other end, you're gonna have, you know, something to stand on. Like, that's weird to me. Ugh.
Yeah, I played the back when it first came out, then I got the sequel, and for whatever reason, I never got around to playing the second one. But I heard it was just as good.
I heard the second's actually better, because it has all the
Yeah.
things that they wanted to do before they had to get cut for time on development.
And it's got, like, Yoshi and stuff, so that's always good.
Yeah. I'm having fun,
What
but it's
level are you
kind of
playing?
I just finished the first Galaxy, if that makes sense. I did the Bowser
Yeah.
boss fight for it. Okay. I don't know how shit works in this game yet.
If I remember right, you got, like, this Mario planet, and then there's, like, Rosalina's, like, observatory,
Yeah, I'm on this observatory right now.
and that's, like, the hub world or something, yeah.
Yeah, Galaxy complete, so I got the first Galaxy. And I discovered a new one. The Fountain Galaxy.
I
heard this
think you
game's
have
not
to...
that long.
I don't recall it being super duper long. There's lots of, like, stars or whatever to find,
But like you can
and I
probably
don't remember
proceed the game
how.
quickly.
But Luigi is unlockable somehow.
I think you're gonna do that by getting 100%.
That might be the case.
I don't know.
I mean, I got him, and he's all right. He slips. He has less. I can't think of the word. Like he slips when he's talking, like or walking. Sorry.
Mm.
Like he has no friction or traction. It's weird.
All I know is I'm having fun with this, but it's kind of weird just because it's an old concept, but it's new to me.
Right.
Just because, like, the only game I've ever really played that had to be used with a Wiimote and nunchuck was Twilight Princess, and that's it.
Oh yeah, you have to use the Wiimote because you like shake and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's weird to get used to, but I'm enjoying it. I just can't wait to play Odyssey, though.
All right. Do you have it set up so you can point at the screen?
What, the Wii?
Yeah, so you
Oh,
can
yeah.
like target stuff.
Yeah.
You can pick up the bits if you point at them.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time it's not really worth it, but sometimes it can be.
I'm just picking them up just so that way I can get extra lives. And trust me, I need them. I did the fucking manta ray surfing bullshit. Took me 4 tries.
Oh,
Which is actually, hey, this galaxy's shaped like dicks.
oh gosh, I
It's also
remember
called
some of the
Space
later
Junk.
levels
Nice.
in that game.
Welcome to the galaxy.
Some of the later levels are just, good grief, Nintendo, have mercy.
I was just saying to Ririk when he was in here that even though this game's considered to be really linear, I guarantee you there's going to be a part where I just don't know what the fuck to do.
It's relatively straightforward. You got the menu that shows you kind of where to go, and there's always, you just go to this world or this world. In the levels themselves, yeah, there might be branching paths and confusing areas,
Yeah.
but from the hub world, it should always be pretty relatively obvious where you need to go from there.
Oh yeah, like that's straightforward. It's this shit right here. If you're watching right now, that's jarring to me. It's just like okay, the camera's pointing on this side of the planet, but you're on the other side, and then your controls
Oh,
are
the
fucking
upside down
backwards.
stuff.
Yeah, this is like
Yeah.
hurting my head. Doesn't help. I've been drinking as well, so.
Oh, what you been drinking?
I just made a dumb little cocktail, fucking gin, vodka, and assorted fruit juices. Cranberry juice and pineapple juice and some lime juice. It's pretty tasty, but it tastes generic.
Ooh. I've discovered I really like pineapples.
Oh, pineapples are great, dude.
Right?
Make your semen taste better too.
Cough. Not that I know that.
Not that you need to know that. I still remember that thing that pissed me off the most whenever I lived on my own. My fucking roommate, not new, but my other roommate, fucking, I had a can of pineapples in the fucking cupboard, and I was planning on eating them for a snack one night, and he took them so he can make his date feel happier by eating his cum.
Oh my god.
I was so angry. Because that was back whenever I was poor as shit and I couldn't afford anything. I was looking forward to eating those pineapples when I got home.
Yeah.
So mad, dude.
God, people eating my food is so... And it happens a lot. People have no boundaries, man.
Yeah.
Still remember one year when I went to the summer camp. I was like 14. We were staying in these cabins, and each cabin had like a little cupboard kind of above the bed. That was like your private little area. I had some candy bars or something, and my cabin mates like went in there and ate them. And I came back.
Really mad.
Yeah, I came back to the cabin, and they were sitting there eating them like right there. And he was like, "Oh, sorry, I figured you would have said yes if I had asked for them, so I went ahead and ate them." Like, what the?
You should never assume because it makes an ass out of you and me.
Now, to his credit, the next later that day or the next day, he bought me what he ate. Like, he replaced it, but still, it's just...
Yeah, it's like the whole thing of like, I know I have ice cream in the freezer. I can't wait to get home from work and eat that fucking ice cream and find out your roommate ate it.
Yeah, that's obnoxious. Gosh, I could tell you about my one of my brother-in-laws. I don't want to... I could go on a rant about that.
Oh god, this is weird. I hate fixed camera angles so much. This I can go in the first person, but that doesn't do me no good.
Oof.
Oh good, I love that type laughing cow cheese. That's what it is. Ugh. I'm getting ahead of myself here.
You're getting head? What?
Yeah, I'm getting head for myself. That's what I said.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna tell you about my brother-in-law without getting too
Worked up.
because I could make it incredibly racist, but I'm gonna leave out ethnicities. Let's just say he's European.
Oh.
Like So I have 5 sisters, and there's an older sister living with my younger sister. And the older sister was dating this guy, and he was from a Eastern European country. I won't go into specifics. The dude has, like, no boundaries when it comes to, like, food or personal possessions. And he would just eat anything in the refrigerator. And, like, my little sister, when she was working, she'd buy food and, stuff to take with her for lunch because she's working in an airport. And it's like your only choices for food were, like, a vending machine or some like fancy restaurant that's like the food's like $20-30.
Oh yeah, fuck that.
So she's like, tries to bring her own food. Well, he kept eating her stuff. And like she would like seal it up in a bag and like put her name on it. And nope, that didn't stop him. And so finally she confronted him one day and he was like, "Dude, stop eating my food." And he was like, "Well, it's all everybody's food." And she's like, I purchased it. It's mine.
See, that's one of the reasons why I always had a fucking mini fridge in my room.
Hey, how goes Twilight in Wonderland?
Oh, hi, Grim.
Hey,
Your microphone's different.
How's it different?
you
Sound like an
different.
ocean.
Oh no, dude, it switched to... I did a Windows update.
Oh no.
Yeah,
You might have to
sound
switch your
weird.
input through Discord. You sound like an aquarium.
Yeah, like you're muffled, but like there's a filter. I don't know. It's weird.
Here, I'll sum it up. You sound like this.
Come on in, the water's fine.
Come on in, the
water's fine.
That's what you sound like.
Well, where's the voice options?
Oh shit, I'm fucked. Too bad. Voice and video is what you want. I think you're using your webcam
how about
mic.
now? How
Still
about
the
now?
same.
Yeah, didn't change.
How about now?
Nothing.
Same.
Might have to restart Discord.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but it's still
Yeah,
the
we
same.
can hear you. And you sound like I can understand you fine, but it's just you sound way different than you usually do.
Alright, how about now?
Still the same.
Still the same.
Ah,
Oh,
Are
there
you
we
like
go.
on your phone or something?
no, I'm on my computer.
Weird.
So I switch it to the Realtek high definition audio phone.
Uh-huh.
And alright, how do I sound now?
Still the same.
Still the same. Like you don't sound bad.
Alright, how about
Like
now?
same.
I'm gonna close
Try
Discord for a bit.
yeah, try restarting Discord. Oh, there I go.
Just to finish my story, Jamal. So after my sister confronted our brother-in-law, the next day she comes home from work. Every single item in the refrigerator was individually bagged with his name written on it,
Wow,
like
I'd
everything.
punch him in the nuts, dude.
And yeah, he'd written his name on it, and just she was like,
Still the same.
"Hello." Yeah, it's still the same. But it's okay. You sound fine. It's not like you're really loud or staticky or anything.
Grim just knows how picky I am with inconsistent microphone settings. This has been a thing for years, I'm sorry. Ever since Skype. And then again, we used to use Steam voice group chats primarily. Then I come.
So it's weird, I sound fine on Skype.
Huh. How strange. Like I said, you don't sound bad. You almost sound like a different person. You sound so
Alright,
different,
how about
but
now?
same.
Yeah, still the same.
How do I... So it was on my default microphone, or for some reason. And then I switched it to Realtek and nothing happened. Let me... Hang
It's
on.
weird.
Oh, this is stressful.
Aw. Like Grim sounds. I mean, I can understand him and everything. It's just different.
Oh my god, this is... Oh! I'm doing one of those platforming levels. No, fuck! Oh. Be nice if they gave me a checkpoint, but you know, that's... Oh shit, they gave me a checkpoint! Holy shit!
I remember having like vertigo sometimes, where like I'm jumping over this gap and it's just like you can see into the void, and you're just like, oh god.
Yeah, I could see what you mean by that. Oh, there I go. Also, it's a good thing you don't have to hear my game while I'm playing anymore. Because this one actually goes through my headset. Driving and I'm swerving and I'm furiously masturbating. Driving and I'm swerving and then I finally come. I come. Ugh. Oh no, why did I do that? Oh,
Oh no.
oh no.
Hey, BRB, I'm gonna help Grim try to figure stuff out.
Alright.
Bye.
No, fuck! God damn it. I'm not good at this. I'm figuring out right now. Oh, Jesus. I don't want to say I'm starting to feel nauseated from this, but the several moving things at once is hurting my head. Oh. Oh my god. Why does Mario keep saying Yowie? Mario should not be allowed to say the word Yowie at all. Yeah! I discovered a new galaxy. Oh shit. I'm probably gonna keep this going for like another half an hour and then call it a night. Because I do actually gotta be up early tomorrow, relatively. I'll at least finish this set of galaxies and then I'll call it a night. Hopefully tomorrow I'll have Odyssey in my hands. Or rather, I have Odyssey in my hands, but hopefully I'll have a fucking Nintendo Switch in my hands. Thanks, Amazon. I delayed my package for an entire 2 weeks, even though I have Prime. It's cool. Beep, 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 beep. I like how these cutscenes work, that you can still interact with them. What up, Captain Toad? Too busy at the moment. Can't believe that fucker has his own game. I don't even have to jump and spin, I can just do that. I'd feel so bad if I just, like, knocked the bunny out of orbit and killed it. Why is everything always crystallized in space? It's like that episode of the Magic School Bus whenever they're in space. He takes off his helmet and freezes his face off. Get the treasure! How do I get the treasure? Oh, the shell, okay. Nice. Everything's candy in this universe. And coins. Candy and coins for days. Huh! Oh, I need another one. I like Mario Kart. This is cool, man. I feel like I missed out on a whole fucking generation of games. I mean, in a sense I did, but, you know. Oh, a red shell, dude. Hello. A few shells will take care of the problem. It's the first time I've ever seen in a Mario game something referred to as an actual animal. God damn it, I don't want to hit that. Nice. I can aim, I swear. What? Fucking Christ, I'm good at this. Nice, that's what I wanted. Ugh. Fuck him up. Yeah, boy. Give me another. Please. Alright, I guess I don't get another. Anything secret up here? Nope. Sorry. What the hell? Looks like Kamek can drag. Aha, that's what you're doing. Okay. I fucked that up. Nice. Dude, this is awesome. Okay, I threw it in the wrong direction. Happens to me in a Mario Kart all the time. Oh god. Prankster comment, what? Ask the Luma that knows about such things. Tell me about these YouTube prankster comics. I need to know. Hey yo, what's good? Hey ho. Can't call me that. Tell me more. Fuck it. I fucking love how they look when they're fat. Snack a diddly do. Turned into Flanders, goddammit. I don't know what I did. Hey! Yeah, that's a good number. Alright. Let's see what these speedy comets do. I bet it's just gonna be like, do this in the time limit. Like the fucking Star Fox-esque music. Speed run, oh shit. Better load up W-split. This galaxy's still shaped like a dick. Alright, so I have a time limit to do this shit, and I guarantee you I'm gonna fuck it up somehow. Fucking floating Tetris pieces. Go there! God damn it. God damn it. Double god damn it. Give me those candies. Got a sweet tooth. Alright, I already wasted a minute. God damn it, camera. Please. Oh my god, that's weird. This fucking music is suspenseful, dude. Bitch ass. At least it's nice enough to pause the timer for the cutscenes, dude. Wait, hold on. Didn't I already fucking do this one? Oh god, I at least I hope I'm doing the right fucking star. Because I don't think I am. I have no idea what I'm doing right now, dude. Whatever I'm doing, I got a minute and 20 seconds to do it. Alright, please be the right thing. I guess it was, even though I've already done this. I should probably pay attention more. Oh, that was cool. Stressful as shit, though. Yeah! Of course I want to save my game. Why wouldn't I? Also, I just noticed the sound of highlighting over things is the sound from Mario Kart 64. Terrantox's Tangled Web. I like the dystopian-based Charlotte's Web spinoff. Yes! Yo, what up, Captain Toad? Brigade Toad went to search for a power star. He's dead. I love how sad these things sound. Yo, what up? I guess I gotta feed you, yep. Gotta put fucking bacon on the table, dude. 50? How much do I have? 24, great. Fuck, man, this soundtrack's beautiful. Oh, there's some up there. 4 more. There we go. And a 1-up as well. Now how the fuck do I get out of here? That's not really what I wanted to do, but okay. Oh shit, okay. Fucking... Hey, what up? Oh no. Wahoo! Just catapult fucking toads. Boing. Oh, and I fucking caved in his skull as well. Hey. Boing. I don't know why, but this planet just... Okay, never mind. I was gonna say it looks like Nickelodeon, but the outer shell of Nickelodeon is gone. Hey, yo, what up? Boing. Oh, God. Oh, this is fucking disorienting. I can't even run. Because I don't know what angle to run. Okay. It's good thing I grabbed that mushroom that gives me the health. Can I just chain him? Oh, I see, okay. I gotta hit his little goo balls. Or alternatively, I can just go for the Mega Goo Ball. I see. Oh, great. Second phase. 2 health bars. Yeah, boy. Gonna go pop his pimples now. Oh god, the camera's so fucking weird right now. Like, I keep pushing the wrong direction on the analog stick. Why can't I not grab... Okay, there we go. Alright, I don't think he's coming back for a 3rd health bar, so I think we're good. Bah. 169. That's a cool number. What are they doing? Save your game? Yeah, that's definitely the sound from Mario Kart 64 whenever you're selecting your character. It's definitely. I thought at first I was just going crazy, but it's definitely it. Roll. Oh no. Oh fuck. I've read about these ones too. I only know what they are because I've seen videos and shit. Well, let's get mad. Oh wait, I gotta position myself so that way I'm actually in frame of doing like video games. Driving and I'm swerving and I'm vigorously masturbating. Da, 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 and I finally come. I come. Old billboard here. Get on top of the ball. Got it. Hold the Wiimote straight up. Great. I thought this is how it went, but I wasn't sure. Oh, this is gonna be dildos, man. Good luck. Phase 1. I do not like the way this feels. Alright, back to memes. No. Oh, no. Oh, fuck. Oh, no. Okay, there I go. This is not easy. Oh god, I don't know why. I've never played this game before, and I've never done this before, but I feel like I've done this before. Being in a different game, I don't care. Whatever it is, I've done this before in another game, and I hated it. At least it's somewhat responsive. Slow and steady wins the race. This must be ass for dildos. For fucking speedrunners. Oh god. At least the camera moves for me. Oh god. Oh shit. Oh, do I want to try to meme it? Oh no. Oh no, I'm going the other way. No. No. Oh. No. Dude, if you had a fucking piece of coal in my asshole right now, it'd be a fucking diamond. Be the best diamond you ever fucking seen. I'm really surprised it only took me 2 tries. Yeah! Of course I want to save my game. Why wouldn't I? Let's check out what this one is. Battle Rock. That sounds awesome. Let's check it out. Bit, bit, bit. Battle Rock Barrage. Sounds like a fucking mobile game. You know, where the thumbnail for it is the main character's face going... Oh, dude, how nice of them to give me coins. Oh my god, these things are worse than the bullies in 64. I cannot figure out depth. There we go. Oh god, I keep thinking about the jump off of the fucking level. Oh. I wonder what I do here. Hey, that's cool. Oh god. Okay, I thought the camera just wasn't moving with me for a second. Ooh, babies! Ooh. Gobble them up, dude. Nice. I could have avoided that had I not jumped. This is way too much for my tiny little brain to handle right now. What did that do? I can't even tell. Oh god, this is hurting my head. Oh fuck, okay. I figured that was gonna happen at some point. Oh god, fucking Mario's skeleton actually shows. God, that's creepy. Mario should not be a skeleton. Hey, at least I got a 1-up from the bits. Why did I do a backflip? No. It's a lot of shit to focus on right here. My little brain cannot handle it. Alright, okay, so I guess that just brings bits into my life. Of course, that's not the bits I'm after. Oh my god. I'm surprised I did... Okay, and I just walk into a Goomba. Nice. And I do that. Even better. Alright, I got stuck in bet... Okay. Okay, that was just for bits, apparently. Got another one-up, though. Oh, that's the... Okay, the star's right there. I'm a genius. Fantastic. Get out of here. I would like one bullet bill to come with me, please. Oh, there's a one-up down here. There's a one-man. A new Mario. Of course. Alright, there's no reason this thing should fuck up now. I did it. So good at this game, dude. Good at all games. Breaking into the Battle Rock. That also sounds like a mobile game. Okay. Man, they give you a lot of leeway with these things. Okay, that's exactly what I wanted to do there. Let's go on to the other thing. Oh god. It's the Babus. Or the Olympics. Help. Okay, note to self, I cannot persuade them to move. What do you have to say? $30. I think I have 30. I have 19. I have exactly 19. I can't see shit right now. Oh god. Aha! Ha ha ha. This is gonna be awesome. This is awesome, dude. I don't think I've ever played a 3D Mario game that had a fucking invincibility star in it. It's just like Mario Kart for me right now. Okay, god damn it. I wanted to do more there, but I couldn't. Where's that fucking Luma? Hey, yo. It's like a mother bird feeding a baby bird. Alright, now I gotta go save that other Luna. Where did it go? A shortcut? Hell yeah, dude. I feel like I should have gone to that other planet first, though. Eh, fuck it. Oh shit. Oh no. God damn it. That's not gonna go well. Nope. That's also not gonna go well. Nope. Okay. I've only got so much leeway until I fuck up. No. Okay, good. No, no, no. No. Why am I going that way? No! There's no falling damage. Is that even how falling damage works? I don't know what direction I'm falling. Okay, good. Thank God. So much for a fucking shortcut. That's devastating. Oh, I thought for a second it was gonna fucking land me in front of that electric ball thing. You know, I kind of want some coins so I can get some fucking health. But you know, fuck me, right? Let's see what the warp pipe does, I guess. Oh god, thank God. Oh shit, okay, you guys are timed. Oh god, I fucking can't. What the fuck? Okay, that's neat. I was not expecting that to be what I just got in. Ugh, God, my ass hurts. Oh shit, I walked right into that. Ooh, boof. Ugh. Oh, fuck! Dude, that was cool. I don't know why it exploded, but it was cool. No, I guess I gotta... Oh, I see the game here. Must be a fucking Jimmy Neutron. Nice. Dude, this is awesome. I can't believe I've never played Galaxy before. Superpowered shine. They're called stars in this game, actually. You guys can't correct me anymore. Save my game, yes. I want you to imagine, like, somebody makes a mod for Super Mario Odyssey that just gives Mario an outfit to be Jimmy Neutron, and it's a Jimmy Neutron game. Oh good, another minigame. Minigame Galaxy. Wait, there is a Jimmy Neutron mod? I have no idea what I'm gonna have to do here, but I'm assuming it's gonna be memes. Don't worry, Botanic Sage will tell me. Alright, that's exactly what I figured. This is simple. It's dangerous, I tell you. Alright, sorry, there's a Toad voice. It's dangerous, I tell you! Oh no, it's a musical thing. I don't like it. Now let me guess, I have to figure out how to get in there and not fuck it up. I can just fall into it, that's good. Here it is. I'm scared. Dare I click? Oh, Jimmy Neutron Board Juniors. I've never played that, but you know what? I'm gonna order it and stream it. I remember my friend had the Fairly Odd Parents game. That like 3D platformer one. It was really weird. The only thing I think I remember about is I don't think it featured the original cast of voice actors, so I could be entirely wrong. So, nah. Well, apparently there's a hidden star here, so. Yeah. This galaxy is just like my house. A fucking mess. No, it's not Captain Olimar's ship, it's Captain Toad's ship. Thank you very much. Remember, this is the game that Captain Toad debuted in. Why can't I... Oh, it's underneath of me, that's right. Hey, you got any tasty star bits? Feed me a bunch of star bits and I'll burst with snacky happiness. I'm gonna start saying that, like, rehearse it entirely. Whenever you guys give me bits. Alright, I need 50 and I got 25. How much does that leave me with? Correct answer is 25. Math with Mastaonion. Call me Mastaonion. Might be one of the worst jokes I've ever made. Oh no, I made that mistake last time. Alright, I need 9. How the fuck do I get out of here? Found it. Except for, how do I get out? There we go. Nope, okay. There we go. Alright, I just need 3 more. There's gotta be 3 more somewhere on this spear. I don't want to fall back in here. Oh my god, you gotta be kidding me. Can't you just spot me the 3 fucking snacks? Yeah, bits, huh? Alright, I guess they can't. Gotta go find 3 snacky bitty goodness. Oh, there's 2. Yeah, 1 up as well. Alright, where are you, little fuck? I can't even be mean to these things, dude. They're so cute. Especially when they're all fat. There it goes. You feed something 50 or something and it turns into a Yoshi. Ugh. Oh god, it's infested with Goombas. Is this a fucking survival of the fittest? Oh god. Maybe I should not suck. Okay, I suck.
You do suck.
Yeah, suck. I
Oh,
suck.
no. Where is everybody?
Everybody left.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I've been here by myself.
Is that what you wanted? Isn't that what you need?
Yeah, I've been having a grand time playing Mario Galaxy. It's a fun game.
Is it?
It is, actually. I'm actually sitting here pondering how I've never played this before.
Told you like it.
I mean, it took a while to get used to the fucking weird 3D shit. Am I supposed to be killing all these fucking Goombas? Because they're just fucking me up. Okay, oh, I died again. So how you like a Deus fuck?
I stopped playing it for a minute while me and Fruit nerd out about some stuff got leaked for the new races for WoW. So I'm just literally sitting here reading notes as we both geek out about them.
That's really lame.
I mean, you know, like you have issues whenever you're laughing, or you're like losing your shit over like jokes that haven't even come out yet. Oh no.
Oh god, don't fuck me up, please. It is very jarring to be using a Wii Remote to play a platformer game, by the way. Oh fuck, I did that too soon. Oh fuck. It's really bad whenever I'm fucking losing a fight against Goombas.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
I should just kill myself right now. Is that all of them? I did it! I like how the last thing in my chat is Grimwood saying inflation porn and transformation porn. This is hentai Jamal, just like Rosalina.
You had 9 viewers last time I checked. How much do you have now?
Obviously, they're not here for really good gameplay. Alright, did all that. Gotta do this one. Gotta go back to the Gurren login level. I was saying earlier, whenever you had your shit muted, that every mission in this game sounds like a mobile game, such as Top Maniac and the Top Man Tribe. It sounds like a mobile game that would have the icon be like a close-up of the main character's face, doing this. I mean, I'm not wrong. Alright, fucking... The weird gravity bullshit is really weird for me to control, man. Yeah, fuck this. Nice, I just didn't even fight that. Just walked right into it. Hey, bits have an advantage now. By the way, I've decided that anytime somebody donates me bits now, I'm gonna have to recite the entire Luna thing. Fill me with snacky happiness. Give me those delicious bits. That's gonna be my shtick. Oh, god damn it. I did not notice there's a spike on top of this motherfucker's head. Oh, that's not even... Okay, never mind, that's what I was supposed to do. Good. Oh, no. Fuck, how does it go? I have to do it 3 times now. Fill me with your snacky... or... bit happy snackiness, I think it was. Fill me with your bitty happy snackiness. Transform. Fill me up, daddy. I'll take quotes I don't want to ever say again for 500, please, Alex. I think I might just say that whenever it comes time for bits. Fill me up, daddy. Also, something that I've noticed that I was talking about a little bit ago, but you weren't here. The fact that whenever Mario takes damage or, like, jumps a long distance, he'll say, like, yow, and then he'll go E. So it sounds like he's going yowie. I don't want to live in a universe where Mario knows what yaoi is.
Not only does he know what yaoi is, he fully endorses it.
Yes. Oh god.
And is an active user of it. Ah, fuck. I hate for WoW again. God damn it. Making more nachos to hopefully pop it up.
I was thinking about reinstalling WoW a while ago, by the way.
I mean, you know what's gonna happen, right?
I'm gonna get bored of it after about 10 levels.
Yep. That's why I recommend buying the expansion, is boosting a character and playing it like...
Well, here's the thing. I have 0 money. at the moment.
If I knew you were actually interested, I would have bought it for you because it's on Black Friday for like $10.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a Christmas sale or some shit.
There always is. I think you would enjoy the story of it, and I think if you got used to the gameplay, which it takes a while to get used to, believe me, no one went in the WoW.
Well, my sister gave me advice saying just don't play anything ranged. Well,
yeah, play
I
a melee
fucking
class.
died.
I'm like, I think you'd like warrior, to be honest, because it's always it's based off of rage, and you're always angry.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, Jamal, you know I was doing for the last 9 hours yesterday and the day before that, right? Playing my warrior.
Sucking copious
Get angry.
dicks.
I mean, and this want to be a holy, like a retribution paladin. I don't know.
Well, so much for that little trick.
No, but no one really went into WoW and went, yeah, this feels good. They went, wow, this kind of sucks, but I'm gonna see where it goes. They didn't get used to it. Look, I'm just making nachos at 2:30.
That's
Again.
normal.
Yeah.
You trying to say it's not?
Is that?
So you trying to say it's not?
It's not normal. I mean, I mean, it is normal. It's not bad.
Fuck my dick ass.
I'd rather not. No, 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 no.
God damn it.
No, 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 no.
Also, we have a very strict, or we need to make a very strict rule about fucking quoting Family Guy in Discord now.
That was the. She stuck her dog in a microwave oven. You don't remember that?
No, I do.
That was me going, no, 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 no. The Family Guy ones. First of all, Jamal, you broke that rule. You made that rule last night. You broke it.
Well, I mean, it's a dumb rule, but I'm just saying it just because it's becoming prominent for all of us to be quoting Family Guy right now. I can't give that impression to these new viewers.
I just want to kill myself and my life. Oh,
And my suffering. And my stag parties.
you should have gone to this tag party. You didn't know. You're fired. You're counting on me. You blew it.
I blew it.
Blew it. Blew me.
Oh great, what's gonna happen? There's a cutscene, there's widescreen bars, something's gonna happen. Oh, nothing happened actually.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I just want fucking.
That doesn't rhyme.
I know. It wasn't meant to. It's meant to put a message out saying that I want to die.
I love how everything just unnecessarily explodes on this level.
I like how I said for that picture I said last night of like all my amiibos and everything. I'm like, hey, you know why something sad? I said, Christ, I feel like I partially caused this, and I said, yeah.
Should have said like,
not
rate
sure.
my hot glue.
Are you hot gluing or amiibos again?
No, I said you are. I said
No,
rate
dude,
my
it's too
hot
far
glue.
away. You know how far that is with Vanessa?
Oh no, I'm fighting the aliens.
It's just a fucking pop culture mess. Grats, you can say. I just wanna.
Fucking.
Hey Alexa. Hey Alexa. Turn on my light. Thank you.
Oh.
Might return this thing. I haven't decided yet.
I would just to get a Google one.
Oh, the thing is, I wasn't using it because it has a good speaker on it, but I never used it for music yet. And I don't know.
See, the thing is,
I
if
go
you
back
have a
and forth on
Bluetooth
the idea.
speaker, like, it just goes hand in hand.
What's that?
If you have a Bluetooth speaker already, it just goes hand in hand.
I don't.
Well, I mean, the Google Home one isn't bad.
Oh yeah, no.
It just doesn't have a good bass.
I mean, sometimes Jamal, I just want to die. Just let me kill myself, please.
Yeah, me too.
I shouldn't have ground pepper next to my desk. Oh god.
Wait, what about pepper?
I put pepper on these and I used the I ground pepper, and I did it like right next to my desk.
So
I'm just
now
breathing
you
in
just got pepper everywhere.
Oh no, it's pepper on my nachos, and I keep breathing it in.
I don't know why, but I thought you were about to say pepper on my dick.
I mean, ow.
The dude with the food, pepperoni.
Here's your za, as you get saying.
I did it. I won. You remember that part? Oh god. I burp and I taste gin. It's not a good feeling. Oh, fuck. Once I finish this galaxy universe thing.
Just want to.
Did you shit yourself?
No.
Are you sure?
No.
Alright, let's do it. Bowser Star Reactor.
We're at the final boss, nice.
But this isn't the final boss.
It is though.
If it is, then that sucks. Oh, hey, it's the music from Mario 64. Nice. I'm a veteran to these kind of games. Look at that, even a free one-up for me. Oh. Oh, fuck. Ow. God, some of these fucking 3D animations are fucking with me, dude.
Why? Oh god, my nose here.
No. Oh, I got sucked into a black hole. Okay. Oh. I'm a veteran of these kind of games, guys. I'm good. Oh, that's so fucking disorienting. I mean, I'm getting used to it, but it still feels so fucking weird, dude. Fixed camera angles, the 3D platformer's best friend. Okay. Hey, look, it's Bowser. What's he gonna do? Oh, he's gonna throw up some fucking hot Cheetos. Just sounding like that.
Imagine if Bowser's
Oh, no,
burped or
no,
something,
okay,
talked
good.
instead of making noise.
Good. Your burp caused me to fuck up.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, it caused me to fuck up as I walked off the platform like a fucking idiot.
I was laughing too
Made
much.
no attempt to fucking hit the jump button.
I did.
And ate the side of the fucking falling platform like a fucking brunch.
How do you fuck yourself?
It's my fault, apparently.
I mean, you were trying to say that we fucked up your countless Agatha braids.
I mean, to be honest, it did, because I was almost done, and then like I fucking just kind of like I phased out for a second because I was getting angry, and I died.
Oh god, Bowser looks gross in this game. You finally made it, and then they have a tea party. Space bits. Oh fuck, are they gonna Dragon Ball Z fight? Yeah, not quite.
Fucking some of these jokes.
What jokes?
They leaked three of the wait, I think was it 1, 2, yeah, 3 of the 6 races jokes got leaked. So I was reading over them.
Jeez, Bowser, what are you doing? I love the choir-esque music right now. Really fits the Mario Cinematic Universe. I mean, it kind of does, it just sounds weird. Silly Bowser. You're a fucking idiot. I can't take a Bowser fight seriously with this music playing, dude. Like, maybe in Zelda, I guess, with Ganondorf, but like, Bowser, nah. Like, it sounds like it's about to turn into the fucking Skyrim theme at any second. Is there something else I'm supposed to be doing here? Yeah, there is. Wow, he got up quick. Yeah, I can fire things back at you, Bowser, you piece of shit.
This is literally fucking the Zelda fight, like the fucking Ganondorf fight.
Oh no, we had to do that earlier, actually. There was a fucking gigantic lava squid that was shooting coconuts at me, and I had to tennis it back to him. Now, before you ask why a fire squid was shooting coconuts, I don't know. I guess it's just a game mechanic they added in. Oh god, what's Bowser gonna do now? Oh, oh, turned into bits. I could shoot things back, you know, you piece of shit. What do you think Bowser smells like?
What was that?
So what do you think Bowser smells like?
Oil?
Oil?
Yeah.
Like motor oil?
No, like it's like oil.
Like vegetable oil?
Like olive oil.
Olive oil?
Easy, I mean, because I don't know. Telling you.
Actually, Bowser probably smells like hot Cheeto dust. Just because of his attacks. Oh, thank God. I was getting really bad at that.
Ah, shit.
What?
Just laughing at jokes. That's all. Ow, my elbow.
Bowser's got just like that, like a JoJo character. I'm about to get the big boy star. Alright, I think I'm calling it a night here after this brief cutscene talking to the babe herself, Rosalina. I don't know how far along I am in this game, but if my assumptions are correct that... Okay, so there's 6 sections, I'm guessing. I've done 3. If I was really up to it, I'd go through the rest of it tonight, but I don't want to do that. At least not yet, anyhow. You rescued another grand star. Rosalina keeps referring to Peach as the special one. You could find your chosen one if you try hard enough.
God damn.
Hmm.
I love Blizzard. In general, I love Blizzard.
Also, I completely forgot that Captain Toad made a debut in this game.
Yep.
I forgot about that. I thought Captain Toad was a recent thing. Hey! What's up? I'm a male Toad.
Ladies.
I hope this gift will come in handy. 5 walnut mushrooms, thanks, Peach. Would I like to... Yes, I would like to take them now. You know, it's very nice of Bowser to let Peach mail out a letter to Mario. This couch... Oh, dude, this fucking place looks comfy as hell, man. Like, I'd like to hang out here on Christmas. This is the kitchen. Apparently the kitchen... Oh, God. And Mario just fucking dies. Do you have any sporks? I only eat with sporks. This is neat. I really wish I can kill Mario here, but I can't. I need to demonstrate all these extra Marios I got. Do you just try to be the most disgusting thing on the earth?
Well, I'm eating nachos. I was eating nachos.
That wasn't a nacho burp. That was a fucking I'm choking on my own spleen burp. Like, had I known before I met you, you'd be the grossest piece of shit on earth, I probably would have killed you by now. I mean, yeah, I burp, but, like, my burps don't sound that bad. Like, that sounded, like, chunky.
Ugh.
Like, my burps are creamy peanut butter, yours are chunky. That's not good. I'll burst with snacky happiness. Oh. I'm stuffed. Here we go. Transform. So I'm noticing a trend. You still hear me, right?
What?
I said you still hear me, right?
What?
Fuck off.
Yes. Okay, well, yeah, what's up?
Every night at 3 a.m. on the dot, fucking I start dropping 1,000,000 frames. Like without no hesitation. It just happens.
Wonder why?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's Comcast sucking cock like it always does. Well, either way, I'm assuming my internet's just gonna throttle the rest of the night, so I guess that's it for tonight. I guess in the meantime I can end it off with a meme, a fresh one. Holy fuck, I'm tired. Let's make a me. Because I'm playing on my Wii U's Wii menu, and I don't have any me's on this one. Let's make myself a me. Make it the same generic ass me I always make. Jamel. Jame. With a period. Boom. Birthday. 4/20. Oh, fuck, it's just 4/21. No. That's Panic's birthday, not mine. Masters.
So jokes like these are the reason that I love Blizzard. There's a race that's in the Tauren, so the Tauren are cow people, but these people have like horns and everything. One of the female jokes is, "Are you staring at my rack?" Followed by, "So you want to knock antlers?"
Good jokes,
Amazing, isn't it? Okay, so Jamal.
Funny.
Jamal, I have a question for you.
Yeah. Wasn't so much a question there, pal.
I will retort then. I have a follow up. Oh, okay, I almost threw up.
You should stop. You should stop, like, yesterday. Maybe I will ban you from this fucking Discord.
Remove me from life.
God left me unfinished.
God left me.
I was gonna give myself a neck beard, but it doesn't look normal.
So, we decided that Mastaonion's stream is,
Terrible, and no one
terrible,
should,
and no one needs
watch
to be
it.
watching it. So we issued a ban on anyone who tunes into, Mastaonion's stream. We figured that this would be a lot better for Twitch in, the long run.
Just constant memes here, my dude. I hate how there's no frowny face. Give myself that dank ass neck beard. There we go. Save and quit. Jamel, the me. Although he looks like Sasquatch.
Oh god.
That's your
Looks like
me.
he smashed together Jason and Zach.
And myself. Well, there we go. Well, that's it, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed my first time playing Mario Galaxy.
Hey, Chest.
Hopefully, I'll have a Switch tomorrow, but I doubt I will.
Jamal, if you have a Switch tomorrow, I'll give you this bottle cap.
Bottle cap. Thank you for the
Yes.
bottle cap. I'll be sure to exchange that for various post-war goods. I
Well,
look
they're
forward
plastic
to
caps.
it.
They're not gonna give you anything.
Oh, sorry. Okay, never mind. You're useless to me.
Yeah, I mean, you can recycle them for like if you have like 1,000, it might look like $1 for Hummersman. Maybe. I mean, the question will probably be, where the fuck did you get 1,000 bottle caps? And the answer's probably going to be, please help me, sir. My leg's broken.
I mean, Jason actually collects bottle caps.
Like plastic ones?
No, like
Yeah, I
beer
know.
bottle caps. He
I know.
full on believes that whenever the apocalypse happens, that bottle caps are going to be currency. He feels like Bethesda predicted that. I mean, I don't blame him.
There's also a man who's in a pride to kill himself in the first 20 minutes because he realizes he can't get weed or
You can still
alcohol
grow
anymore.
weed. I mean,
Yeah,
alcohol
but-
would be like you have to distill it yourself. Probably would be worth it in the apocalypse
Knowing
anyways.
Jason, he knows how to make moonshine, but not very well. So like Jason will make it and end up like making like stupid concentrated moonshine and just kill himself or something.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Anyways, have a good night, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the stream.